This is Success Beyond the Score, giving insights and tips to help you learn how to build your music career from the best in the field by Millicent Stephenson. Millicent is a multi-award winning saxophonist and endorser of Harry Hartman's Fiber Reeds. She is currently serving on the executive committee of the Musicians Union. With over 40 years' experience in the creative industry, Millicent has honed her performance and business skills. She provides personal development training and coaching via her online platform, successbeyondthescore.com.
Hello, I'm Millicent Stephenson, and this is the newest episode of my podcast, Success Beyond the Score. Now this time I'm going to be a bit more personal with my guests. I'm going to be asking them about their career highs, but also their lows. What have they realized truly matters after decades of experiences? What have they learned from those difficult times? So come along and hear from Dan Whitehouse, an acclaimed composer and songwriter currently signed with Reveal Records. Anna Brooks, an international touring saxophonist, recording artist, arranger and director. Abigail Kelly, an award-winning international operatic soprano and ambassador for the National Touring Opera. Louise Dengate, choir director, exceptional vocal coach and agency director. And Tony Bean, CEO and founder of 5am Records, who works with international artists. He's also songwriter and record producer. By the way, these interviews are recorded through Zoom due to the COVID-19 pandemic, so you might notice a slight change of audio quality between the introduction and the interviews, but the show content is still A+. So what would you say then has been a career high for you? I don't know if you could think of one or two, that'd be great to share those.
You know what, Millicent, I saw that question and the first thing that came to my mind was a person called Harry, who in 2012, I'd only been releasing records for 2 or 3 years at this point. And one thing that's really served me well is house concerts, which is exactly the kind of thing you can't do in lockdown. Although I sort of have, through the streaming, remotely been broadcasting into people's lounges. But for a long time, I would travel the country playing small private gatherings. And my songs sort of resonate well in that really intimate space. And there's one family in Bromsgrove that became great friends. And they played, I've got this song called Somebody Loves You, which is about 4 verses before the chorus comes in. Yeah. It's not a radio song. It's really wordy. It's about 5 minutes. And their son, who was 4 years old at the time, managed to learn the entire thing.
Is this what it's for? All that work, is this what it's for? All those words, is this what it's for? Just to beat me down here on the floor.
And they put this video up on YouTube of Harry singing Somebody Loves You.
Oh.
I think that still resonates with me as a career highlight, I have to say, because for my song to make a connection with a family in that way, and the thing is that, you know, that's a family song for me. I wrote that song about my parents, and then to see that sort of mirrored and reflected back was just a really beautiful happening.
Yeah, I've seen that video. I think it's really cool because his parents driving the car and he's in his booster seat and he's singing along and it's amazing. It's just really cute as well. A very sad song, I thought. I've listened to the lyrics and thinking, oh, that's such a deep song. And then you have this little 4-year-old singing it. It was like, wow, there's just so much in that from an artistic point of view. That's great. That's great. So listen, if you had to sort of rewind the clock and, you know, or get into Doctor Who's TARDIS or something and go back in the past, what would be one of your career lows that you think, actually, if I could do this over again, I would do it?
That's a tough question, isn't it? Just looking at my notes, there's nothing here.
Wow, perfect.
No, Everything's been perfect. Thank you, Millicent. See you next time. Let me think. So, too many things to choose from.
One's fine. This one's fine.
And
maybe you could think about it as a point of choosing one and the lesson that you learned from it. Maybe if you look at it that way, what was the lesson you learned?
You know, embarking on this sort of music as a career is always going to be challenging, isn't it? I come full circle with it. On my last album, I had a song where there's a lyric that says, everything is perfect all the time. And that's kind of my mantra now, which, it's about acceptance. It's about sort of breathing and listening in to what the universe is delivering and accepting that. I think if there's one regret, it would be that as a younger person, I didn't listen in enough. I had some wonderful concerts, for example, where perhaps I didn't take the time after the show to really reflect on what had happened and who'd been present and what an occasion it had been. And I sort of was always pushing on, striving for something bigger and for the next thing. And that sort of drive and motivation served me well in some aspects, but I think lockdown's given me a chance to pause and look back and reflect, and there's certain moments that I could have savoured more intensely.
I think that's the thing with youth, isn't it? We're always rushing ahead. We always think tomorrow will never come. It's always today is fine, and oh yeah, the next thing's going to be best. But as you get older, you realise sometimes it's good just to take it slower. But it's a good lesson. I think it's a good lesson for all of us. When the moments are good, just really embrace them. And I think for me with lockdown, it's been really enjoying my family as being one of the things, because usually I'm rushing around. They always say to me, oh, well, you're always rushing, you're always behind that computer, you're always doing, you know what I mean? But just enjoying those moments that are so precious, it's...
Yeah.
You've got what seems like a very glamorous career. Can you think of any particular low that if you could do over again, you wouldn't do it that way?
I don't think there's anything in my musical career that I regret doing, because I have learned from every mistake. I think that is the best way to learn. And I've done some kind of, I've done a lot of crazy stuff, and for a mix of music that I've played and people that I've played with during my career. But everything has been a learning experience, and I think there have been. I've had a couple of maybe little mini tours and stuff where everything has gone wrong.
Okay.
And I've had a couple of tours from hell when things, my suitcase went missing for 13 days while I was on the road, and it had everything in it, and that was terrible things like that. But that's always stuff sort of beyond your control and circumstances beyond your control. But I don't think there's anything that I regret doing, or anything that I would do differently, because I think I have a policy of never regretting anything.
Okay.
And
learning from it then.
Trying to find some value in every musical experience. But I think maybe it's also just because I love my job so much that even the stuff that's been a bit weird or a bit left field, it's fine. It's part of. I love the variety of what I've done over the years and what I
because some
still
people
do.
Sorry to cut in, but some people give up, don't they? When something goes wrong, they actually give up their music career and say, "I'm never going to do that," or "I'm never going to sing again," or "I'm never going to."
Yeah,
that doesn't sound, you're not one of those persons. It seems.
I can't ever stop doing this. It's my absolute. It's my absolute passion. No, I music is me. It's so deep in my heart that I could never give it up. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've had quieter times in my career, and I've had, some tough times where things in my personal life might have affected my career, but I still don't regret. I don't regret anything, and I wouldn't have done it differently. It just, life throws things at you, and you just have to deal with them and say, okay, what is it? What are you going to try next? What are you going to throw at me next? Okay, I'll just keep going. I will just keep going. So I've never sort of felt like, oh, I can't do this anymore. There've been times where it's been quiet, and I've been struggling to make ends meet. As a single mum for a little while, that was very, very difficult. But just push through and find a way. I think the thing is, if you've got a varied set of skills, if you can build a varied set of skills, then the advantage that we do have is that we can kind of create work if you go out there and whether that might be more arranging work or working as a solo saxophonist or whatever. No, I don't regret anything, and I wouldn't change anything.
We've had great highs from your career, but I just wondered, have there been hurdles or any sort of major lows, not just for this year, but in trying to make it as a female soprano, operatic soprano? Has there been any sort of barriers or anything that you've experienced that?
I find that, first of all, the operatic industry, it's huge. There are 6-7 huge music colleges across the UK, all churning out singers every single year, as well as all of the other conservatories in the world that churn out opera singers constantly. So the perception that there aren't many opera singers out there, or it's, it might be quite rare to meet an opera singer, but there are a whole load of us out there at any one given time.
Okay.
all vying for the same jobs. So you just have to have that element of resilience and just say, there may be hurdles, but I'm going to try my best to overcome them. I think for me personally, in terms of lows in my career, have only really been when I'm not doing, it's only been when I've not really been doing anything at all. So that the first few years outside of music college, I came out of music college, I started working for English Touring Opera straight away. I was in work. I was like, this is fantastic, this is great. And then after a while, it's sort of, I went for many auditions for various opera companies, for various agents, and I just I wasn't getting anything. I wasn't getting the kind of work that I thought I should be getting. I wasn't, and I look back on that now and I just think to myself, well, it was because I wasn't ready. That wasn't my time right then. I needed to just keep plugging away, keep going. There were so many Jamaican phrases that come to my head, and so many things that my mother would say to me. Even now, there are gigs that I get that I know that I am sort of like fourth person down on a list of however many people to kind of get through a few people before I'm gotten to for a gig. I don't feel any way about that. Okay. The fact that they got to me through that list means that gig was always meant to be mine somehow, cosmically. It was always meant to be for me. And I feel that way about every single knockback, about every single successful audition I have, about every single stepping into a role because someone is ill. I feel that way about all of it. And it's brilliant to ride high on the crest of a wave when you're feeling like you're doing really, really well. But it's also really important to acknowledge acknowledge what it feels like when you're not working to the level that you want to be working at. Just means that, hey, you know, you've got time to therefore work on something else, work on your mental health, work on your physical health and well-being, work on your family surroundings, you know, get that picture that you wanted to put up on your wall, put up, you know, you can be working on other things. So hurdle wise, I don't know. It sounds a bit weird to say that I try not to see hurdles. I'm like that person who, you know, you see these YouTube clips, these silly clips sometimes. The 200 meters hurdles is something that I love watching. I just find it so interesting. And there's this sort of technique to it where if you clear the first one, then you're on a roll. You clear the next one, you clear the next one, and it's great. When you clear the first one and then you hit the next one, it takes you out of your stride, and then you start hitting the next one and hitting the next one and hitting the next one. What I would rather do is just take myself off that track with all the hurdles on. Just scooch over to the left-hand side, run on the piece of grass that has no hurdles, that may be a little bit slower than the tarmac with the hurdles on, but there aren't any hurdles. So I'm not going to see them. I'm just going to keep running. I'm going to see them out of the corner of my eye, maybe acknowledge them. Maybe acknowledge them as future Abigail acknowledging the past hurdles that have been, but I'm not going to see them right now. I'm going to keep my eye on that finish line. I'm just going to keep going on the slow grass.
So you find a way. So you're saying it doesn't matter how you get there, you'll get there, you know, and if it means there's a bit of a detour, you'll take that detour. You'll get that's what
I'll take the detour and I'll take the slow path. And if, you know, if I have to stop for a little bit of water or someone has to come along and help me a couple of steps on the way, then that's my path. That's my path. But yeah, I'm not diminishing the fact that there are hurdles that, you know, as we discussed earlier on, there are massive hurdles in everything in life, you know, financial situations, home life situations. I am very fully aware that I have, you know, I'm a person of a certain age, that I don't have dependents. So I have been gifted a certain amount of extra time that I'm, you know, not spending looking after somebody. I'm not spending worrying about childcare or picking somebody up from school, or, you know, that sort of logistics of life. That for some people can be a hurdle, and especially in the musical industry, when you're touring a lot, you know, I acknowledge that at some point I'm going to probably feel like I am on the track with all of the hurdles, and it's going to feel really difficult and really feel like I'm going to have to jump over it. But I'm going to remember this conversation I had with you and just remember that run on the grass is what I need to do. But yeah, I just, I think that, like I said before, if it's, I'm trying to remember that phrase that my mom says, what is feel can't be unfeel. That's it. What is feel can be unfeel. And that's how I feel about life in general.
If you were to, you know, think back over the last 20 years, what would be one of the things you would say, this was a highlight for me?
Yeah, I'm probably a bit strange in this answer, because I hear other people answer this sometimes, and they'll say the biggest venue they've been in and who was there, some famous person. Even though those things have happened, and that's really nice. For me, definitely some of the best have been when I know we've really made an impact to just a regular, nice person. Like we did a funeral last year of somebody had lost their mum to cancer, and so they wanted, I think we sang Hallelujah, and I can't remember all the other songs, but the room, it was in this beautiful church in Gloucestershire, and the room was so full of love for that person. It was really special, and it felt like an honor to be part of that day, because what they said about her was so precious. And, you know, sometimes people don't express how much they love someone until they've gone. I mean, I'm sure they did, because they knew that she was going to pass, but it was so lovely. And we sang that song, and it was hard for us not to get emotional, because the room was like charged. So, but it was charged because there was so much love there. So that for me was definitely a highlight, even though it was so sad. It was sort of that bittersweet sad because there was so much love there. Now, to me, that's much more satisfying than a fancy pants event for some fancy people. And not that that's not nice. It's just that, you know, give me real people, real love, real passion. That's where I find the most satisfaction. Yeah.
I find the same thing. I do like playing at funerals. I mean, I don't actually advertise it a lot on my platform because, you know, people think, oh, it's not the thing to advertise. But I actually like that because I think it's a very significant time in a family's life. And you get to hear through the eulogy the life of the person. And I find it really fascinating.
Yeah.
You know, and just being there and supporting and helping. I think it's great. It's not, you know, it's not glitzy and what have you. It's a very sad occasion, but I think it's where you do the most impact, give the most impact. I really like funerals. I really absolutely love it. So here is the opposite then. So what would be you class as a career low? You know, the thing that just didn't work out. If you had to live your life again, I would do it differently.
Apart from the reception job at the doctor's surgery, that was pretty,
apart from that one,
that's not really part of a career. I think that we did have a residency at this pub in Birmingham.
Yeah.
And they said they wanted jazz. And I'm like, are you sure? You sure you want jazz? Like, the people that come in, are you sure they want jazz?
Yeah.
They said, yeah. But the people that went there really didn't. You know, it was quite a lot of, shush, you want to watch the football or this.
Oh,
no. It was the wrong choice. Lovely people, but they didn't want jazz. And it's like that awkward thing of you got to do what the client is asking you to do. But at the same time, the public that are going in there, they don't want it. So that was so awkward. And we did it for quite a long time. And then in the end, I can't remember why it stopped now, which is, you know, the residency stopped, but it was probably for a good year. If that was to ever happen again, I would definitely be having a more open conversation with the manager, saying, can we try doing a different style that matches more, I think, what people here like? Because we've talked to them as well, what music do you like, what you into? And they'd be like, we like rock, we like, you know, we like Blondie, we like ABBA. We're doing Ella Fitzgerald.
So what would you say is one of your career highs? If you think of the whole 30 years, what would we say? This was my career high. This is something I really enjoyed, and why I really enjoyed it was a high point for me.
Oh, good question. You know, the problem with me, I am so hard on myself that I don't even... It's hard for me to actually look at things and go, oh, that was such a great time. It's so fantastic. I always look at it as, it could have been better.
Okay.
So I can't even say I look at things as highs. There were some good times that I had and good things happened.
No, they say one of the good things, maybe somebody you worked with or an experience going somewhere that you thought that was really good.
Oh gosh. You know what? I think sometimes it's not about the money or the sort of famous side of it. It's literally doing something where, for me, it's more about me probably writing something and somebody going, I love that song. That song meant this to me.
Okay.
And I've had that happen a couple of instances. Where somebody actually said to me, do you realize what that song meant to me? What were you thinking when you wrote it? And I've actually thought, wow, you mean you sat and there was a young lady that said to me, I actually choreographed a dance to one of the songs you wrote.
Oh, that's lovely.
It meant so much to me. It was, and I did this dance with people because it really meant this to me. Is that what you meant when you wrote it? And I thought, oh, actually, yeah. You got it. That's what I actually meant when I wrote the song. And there's instances like that have happened. I think I also wrote a song for Kenny Thomas that he actually said to me, I got inside his head. And that was brilliant, because I thought about him when I was writing it, and he phoned me up and when I gave him the song, and he said, you know what, I can't believe you've lyrically put into a song how I feel and how I'm actually thinking.
Did you get some of the pointers from him, or you just wrote it and presented it?
I just thought about him.
Okay,
I thought,
wow.
The singer, I thought, okay, he's had this great success. He's at a stage in his career now where he's probably a man that's settled in his life in certain ways, and these are the things that he's probably facing. And I just wrote from that perspective. And thank God it was just bang on. And he recorded the song, and I produced the song for him. And he actually said, you know, that really was, that got inside his head. I think that was something that made me feel really, really good.
It's worth it. After all those, it's worth it when you can.
It didn't just go by the buyers. Oh yeah, it's a nice song.
Yeah.
But it actually meant something to somebody. Yeah.
And I like that as well with my music. I like when someone said it meant something for me. It helped to get me through. You're thinking, this is what it's all about. It's not just about the dots and the notes. It's about helping someone in some way. You know, it's I'm so rewarding.
That's invaluable. I think that's invaluable, and I think it means more to me than. People always say, "Oh, have you met anybody famous? Have you done this?" And it's, yeah, you have. And there are nice times when you work with people and you meet people and you think, "Oh, okay, yeah, they're nice people." But for somebody to connect with what you're doing, and not just as a business sort of person, but connect with you as an artist and as a writer and as something, I think that's really special.
Cool. So here's the opposite. What would you say is one of your career lows? Because looking on, I could see all these wonderful accolades and stuff. Can you name a career? Do you want me
to go through those?
No, just one.
Can I name names? No, I can't name names.
Hey, if you want to name names, you go ahead. But oops, I just dropped my phone. But you on the courts, not me on the courts. You go to courts if you mention names. Not
there
me.
are some obvious ones that I think I will just. All I have to say is there are some obvious ones that everybody will know about.
Okay, go on.
They were quite public, and I'm not going to talk about them. I think one of the lows was when I had the first record deal we got. Got messed up by the singer that I brought in. And it really, within sort of 2 months, they totally lost their heads by me bringing them into this situation where it was like, oh, could you sing this song for me? Come into my house at the time and sing this song, doing a demo. And then within a couple of weeks, I was phoning them to say, are you interested in having a record deal? And they were like, what? A record deal? Seriously? Yeah. And I think I threw that person into a world that they just had not imagined. And it completely blew their minds in some ways about signing an actual record contract, going down to the record company, having this signing party, and oh my God, I'm going to be an artist. And then it was like within a matter of weeks, I think they took us out to dinner a couple of weeks later, and a certain singer completely threw one. And the record company sort of looked at me around this dinner table and went, what's going on here? Is there a domestic situation? And I'm thinking, no, there was never a domestic situation. And there was a whole inquest in it. Suffice to say that the first record deal I signed stalled within a matter of months. And I think that was a real low point.
You know what? Sometimes we feel as though we're the only ones going through things. But I hope that these experiences you heard today would help you to feel less like that, and also give you guidance when facing your hurdles. By the way, if you're struggling to get paid for the work you are doing, then I have 10 tips to help you with getting paid. It's called 10 Reasons Why They Will Pay You Before Gig Day, and you can download them from www.successbeyondthescore.com/Get Paid Before Gig Day. The link is also in the description. Speak to you soon.